Oops. Welcome to the Lift Heavy Run Long podcast, episode number 99. You can find us at www.liftheavyrunlong.com, on Twitter and Instagram at liftrunlong. Also, feel free to email me directly at the address wilson@liftheavyrunlong.com. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel and leave us a 5-star review on iTunes. If you're not a member of our private Facebook group, you should be because we want you to be there. Search for Lift Heavy Run Long Community and request to join right now. I want to remind you that the LHRL podcast is censored, and we have a clean rating on iTunes, so you're safe to listen to this with your children in the car. I have children. I like to listen to podcasts, and I want to know that when I'm listening to a podcast that it will be something that they can hear without going to school and divulging the bad language that their father listens to.
What podcast do you listen to?
I really don't listen to podcasts at all. I'm busy with this one most of the time. But I listen to our podcast with them in the car, and it's nice not to have a bunch of F-bombs on there. So everybody watch your language if you could. It's been so nice. Y'all have done a good job. Swanson's over there shaking his head like he's just not going to keep up the streak. But it's been nice. My name is Wilson. I'm one of your hosts. I want to let you know that we have an app. We have the LHRL app, and for $3.99 a month, you can get on the app and subscribe to the LHRL Daily, which will provide you with body weight exercises, WODs, and barbell strength workouts. The goal is to provide fitness for as many people as possible for as low of a price as possible, and hopefully $3.99 will fit your budget. However, if you are in financial dire straits and for whatever reason you don't have $3.99, but you do need fitness in your life, feel free to email me at wilson@liftheavyrunlong.com, and you're welcome to use the app for free. We also have, for $9.99 a month, Valerie Hunt writes the programming for Lift Heavy Run Long, and she is an incredible endurance athlete. Most people already know who she is. She's an outstanding running coach and just an outstanding athlete in general. And you'll have access to her through the app, and she's quick to respond. So any questions that you have, she'll be the one to fix you right up.
And we are the official app and program for
the Chris Hope Foundation 5K and 10K run coming up in October.
That's right.
So we have two races.
If you register for the race, you'll get a automatic login or membership into the app, into the program related to that, right?
That's correct. We have a special community set up for the Chris Hope Foundation 5K and 10K participants. We'll send you a free 5 weeks to 5K program delivered to you through the LHRL app. And if you're doing the 10K, we'll send you a 6-week 10K program. Both of those designed by Valerie Hunt, and both of those given to you for free for joining on to the Chris Hope Foundation 5K and 10K run.
And we want you on our LHRL team.
And we want you on Team LHRL. We really just want to make sure that there's as many people as possible supporting Chris Hope, because he's doing great things for the families of St. Jude. But if we can get you on our team, then that'll be great, because then people will say nice things about us.
Speaking of nice things, do we have any reviews, or is it too early for that?
No, I need to plug one more thing. We're going to have another race, walking tall.
I've got all. You realize y'all are throwing me way off my game here, but go ahead. You're right. We do have.
I think it's the same month.
It is the same month.
So we got two big things coming up at the same time.
The Chris Hope Foundation 10K and 5K is.
It's not on the same day, is it?
October. No, it's the day. It's in the Mission, the Tour de Spree 24-hour race. So we've got to go
The Tour
do
de Spree starts Friday afternoon and Saturday
Saturday
afternoon.
afternoon.
The Chris Hope 5K, 10K is Saturday morning.
Oh, so the Tour to what? Spree?
Tour de Spree?
Yeah.
Is the 24-hour.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay,
Correct.
I didn't realize that, and that's what you need the tailwind for.
That's what I need to tell
That I've got
Yep.
in the back of my car for
And
you.
we're going to have it.
Yeah.
And we're going to have the LHRL tent set
I've
up,
got so you can have 10 gallons of tailwind.
which
Well-
I'll need at least 8 myself.
Which reminds me, I also have a car charger or a
Car truck.
watch.
Oh my
charger.
gosh! If you do have a watch charger,
I had it in my car last week. I forgot to give it
Oh
to you.
my gosh, I'm like in a bad place because I don't have my watch.
Okay. Wilson probably wants to get back to the podcast
He
now.
probably does.
So we're going to have to do the 24-hour race, but only like 16 hours of it. And then we're going to have to limp over to Chris Hope's 10K and do that.
I will do the. I really want to do that 24-hour race. I feel like I'll do that and then go to Chris Hope's 5K and do that because I missed that last year and I really want to do that.
That's my plan for you.
His 5K or 10K will be a nice recovery walk for the 24-hour.
Is that what we're going with?
That's what I'm going to go with. That's my.
But we're doing the 24-hour race, and we're doing Chris Hope's race. All of us, everybody in this room. Y'all are going to do a 24-hour race.
Wow.
And we're going. Y'all going to sign up for Team LHRL.
Got it.
This is where it all turns around.
You're going to run 100 miles.
You're going to run 100 miles during that 24-hour race, and then you're going to do a 10K. So great.
It's a thing.
We got 2 more people, Chris. He'll be happy.
Sorry, we got you screwed up now.
And then 3 weeks later, we have the Big Hill Pond Walking Tall 25K and 50K. And the race directors, Brian Williams and Sean Hilsden, told me personally that anyone who makes it through Chris Hope's 5K will not have any problems at all making it through the Walking Tall 50K.
There you go. It's just an extra zero. It's just one more zero.
Uh-huh.
It's a zero.
Yeah.
That's all. There's not even more than 1 zero. It's just one zero.
He said that the 5 weeks to 5K program for Chris Hope's race was enough to get you through the
There you
Walking Tall
go.
50K.
Look at that.
So you need to sign up for that too, and come into town because we have camping spots. I've told like at least 50 people that we have.
You probably have like a 10 by 10 camping spot.
I have 2 camping spots, and therefore I feel like I own the entire park.
We do.
I'm telling people like,
We basically do.
come on in town.
Yeah,
got a
you
camping
know
spot.
Sean and Brian are going to take care of us. They're going to make sure we've got like at least a 12 by 12 area instead of 10 by 10.
I'm hoping that Sean will set up our camping stuff because I don't know how to do that.
We don't need him to set it up. We need him to break it down.
I need someone. I'll leave it there. I'm not
Just burn it to the ground.
I'm not doing there'll be the LHRL tent that'll be over at the 24-hour race that they need to pick up and take down after that's over.
Right.
Somebody needs to bring it to Chris Hope's deal, and then we got to get it to.
Who took it down last year?
We didn't have it last year.
No, at the 24-hour.
We didn't have the pop-up last year. We didn't have the
didn't have-
LHRL
But I
pop-up
had my
last year.
stuff. Had my stuff out there.
Did
I
you
can't
take
really
it?
remember. When I got back from the 24-hour race, I almost ran through all 4 of those mailboxes, falling asleep.
Well, I had to work, so I missed all that.
Yep. Well, I don't remember how it got done.
I had to go save a life. So
Yeah. She had an important business.
she wasn't there.
Yeah, I was
She
doing
had to-
chest compressions. Just kidding.
Chris Hope's a great guy to work with. I'm telling you what, that guy is a ball of energy.
He's amazing.
And working with somebody like that really makes you want to work hard for him. He's going to put on
Yeah.
a good thing. Join Team LHRL. They have a virtual race as well.
They do.
So you
if,
can
if
our
you can't
international
make it
people.
to Memphis,
Yeah.
if you still want to support Chris Hope and LHRL, Team LHRL, you can join us virtually, or you can be a non-runner. Isn't that a thing too?
you can just donate.
You can just donate.
Yeah. I mean, I'm virtually not
awesome.
going to run it either, but I'm going to sign up for it and pay my dues. So
Pretty much like every other race.
virtually get on our team and we can virtually fight cancer together or help the families.
This time you've got a really good excuse for being dead last finisher because you'll have run 100 miles the last 16 hours.
You got that right. Actually, at the 24-hour race, the whole time I'm going to be like, I've got this 10K tomorrow, so I don't want to push it.
Take it easy here.
I got to take it
That's
easy.
right.
I'm just going to do 3 miles here
That's
and
right.
really kill the 10K.
That's
and then
right.
be like, I just got done with 24-hour race, man. I don't think I can. I'm gonna have to
I'm
walk.
working on 28 hours here.
Well, it doesn't work like that. It's
We'll
going
have
to
to
be
leave
It's
that
like 3
morning.
p.m. to 3 p.m.
so we're only going to have like 15 hours at the 24-hour race, and then have to
What time is his
cruise
race?
over to
What
Chris
time's
Hope's.
Hope's race? Is it like
So
8 or 9?
if the 24-hour race start, and I don't know exactly, but let's say it
3.
starts at 3 p.m., we're going to have to leave
On a Friday.
on a Friday. We have to leave Saturday morning by like 6 a.m. to make it to the Chris Hope race that probably starts at 8 a.m.
Then we can go
Oh,
back to the
I see.
race,
And
the
then we
24-hour
could- yeah,
race,
'cause
and
that
You
finish
could
it
go
sounds
out.
back to
awesome.
the 24-hour race. Yeah. Okay.
And do your
that's-
recovery run at the
The last 2 years of the 24-hour race have worked out exactly like that in my book. Where I've
Where
been
you
like,
left,
you know what, the first,
and I'll just come
and then
back.
the last 12 hours, and then like 10 hours into it, I'm like, I'm going home. I'm done. I don't know. 24 hours is a long time to be running.
If I manage 51 miles that weekend, I will be happy.
Okay, you want to do 51 miles?
I would like 51 as well.
Yeah.
I'll do 51 miles if I'm doing it with this guy. If you'll do 51 miles, I'll do 51 miles.
Do I have to listen to you complain?
We don't have to do it together. We just have to be. We have to know that
Yeah,
we're
man.
around.
I'm there.
Okay, I'll never be more than a mile apart from you. Won't that be a comforting feeling?
Actually, as the crow flies, we'll never be more than like a tenth of a mile or maybe a half a mile at the most apart from each other.
Right.
So that's
Yeah.
kind of awesome. That kind of gives me warm fuzzies.
I'm
right
going to
now.
get you a matching locket.
Wow.
exactly.
We'll always be with each other. To my right, I have the most attractive woman on the planet, who is also the most intelligent, and just blows me away with her beauty and kindness and all the things that she does so well. The amazing Dr. Amanda Horrell, also known as Jacked and Tan.
Hello.
How are you, Doc?
I'm okay.
You almost cut your hand off today.
I did.
That wasn't a good idea.
I did.
Why'd you do that?
I was doing our WOD, and I got to 9 out of 10 rounds on my pull-ups, and I even had my waddies on. Everybody's like, "Why did you use your hand cover things?" But I did, and I ripped like a huge callus off my hand, or half off.
And then dumped a bunch of alcohol on it.
And well, yeah, because there was chalk and crap in it, so I went and dumped alcohol on it to kind of fry it out, and then I went to work, and after the day shift for ER came in, I went down and tried to get them to cut the rest of it off for me. So then they took me to the back and chlorhexadined it, which is worse than alcohol, which I didn't think was possible, and they warned me, and they were right. So then I clawed my arm with my other hand because I was holding my arm still so they could clean it. Anywho,
Notice the tape on her 2 fingers?
like
That's because when they were bandaging her up, they cut the webbing in her on
that
her
wasn't
fingers.
ER. That was the wound nurse when I was on round. She's like, I can fix that bandage and make it less bulky. So she gave me this really cool other bandage. And so then when she did it, she's like, let me cut the sides so you can go spin your foot in between your fingers. And she took the scissors and snipped the webbing between my fingers. And I said, ow. And she goes, ha. And I was like, no, really. And it started bleeding. So I had to tape my fingers together because it kept ripping more and more open every time I moved my hand. And so then I went back down to the ER, and then they put this weird clear thing on it, and now it's coming off because he put Neosporin on it and iodine, and I look like
Amanda's not.
Okay.
it's disgusting.
I have a
Oh
question.
my gosh.
So is like if you work at Burger King, if I run the cash register at Burger King, I get free French fries, right? Like
Yeah.
I get like a bag of French fries every day if I want it or something. Is that a perk of being a doctor? Do they send you a $14,000 bill for your hand, or do they just say, "Oh, let me just fix that"?
No,
for you?
I mean, they're like, we'll take care of you. You're one of our own. So, I mean, it wasn't like,
It's
That's a valid question.
Cops don't give tickets to each other. Doctors take care of each other. It's,
Right.
So, I mean, if I have to go to like
Professional
surgery, I'm
courtesy.
sure they would charge me for my surgery, but
They
they
want
just,
just to open your chest up and fix your heart.
but,
Here,
you
come
know,
here, come here, lay down on this table real quick. We'll just do that open heart
Oh,
surgery.
it's a
real
heart
quick.
attack. Don't worry, we got you.
But it's funny though, because every department I went into, like, oh, I can fix that better, and so they'd take that bandage off and put something else on. But anyway, so now I'm left with a cut webbing, and my bandage is falling off now.
Did they have to put beta allohydroxazine methyl on your
No, they just
finger that
chlorhex.
they cut off? when they cut
No,
your
I
web?
didn't. I just Neosporined it and went on my way.
Before I would have dumped alcohol on I would have just cut it off at the wrist. Just made a clean cut.
Well, Mark
been like, I
Fortune
don't have to
heard
worry
me
about-
yelling at the gym when I did it. He's
Yeah.
like, "What are you doing?" It's like disinfecting my hand.
You got to be. That's why you don't need to be working.
He was
out.
probably
Stuff
insulted
will
because
get
you were ruining the
injured.
chalk.
It's CrossFit. CrossFit will get you injured. It hurts
Mm-hmm.
everybody.
Mark Fortune introduced me
right.
to chocolate covered honeycomb today. from Sprouts, and it was fabulous.
You need to be
sounds
careful what
phenomenal.
you're eating at Mark Fortune. Was it still in the package?
It was.
Okay.
It was.
You opened it?
No, I did not.
It wasn't a sealed package?
Not
Okay.
Now you're making me worry. But if you had roofied me, I'd already be laying down somewhere, right?
Right,
You were
exactly.
like
Okay.
high all day.
Exactly.
You're like, oh wow,
My hand doesn't
it
hurt.
was a great day. No wonder I could pour alcohol in my hand and not feel
Mark is
it.
one of our great members at the gym that we love to give a hard time about being a creeper. So
Oh boy.
he plays the part a little too well some days.
And he also listens to this podcast every episode, and he runs with a LHRL shirt like every day, and he takes his shirt off every time he runs, and every time he takes his shirt off, he forgets to pick it back up. So he's bought like 28 LHRL shirts. So he is the reason that we
He's
can afford.
single-handedly providing the clothing the homeless around town in LHRL gear.
He's-
And he pays for our internet.
He's paying the hosting bill for the podcast, which is not free.
Because $3.99 a month is not exactly going to get a person rich worth of app subscriptions. But he's also on the app.
you
Next to
That's
Dr.
a long
Horrell,
introduction.
we have my man Christian Anto.
Yes, sir.
How are you?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Thank you so much for coming out here
Absolutely. It's a
and for
pleasure.
putting up with us. This is great. And we have Julia Ladewski.
Hi.
How are you, Julia?
I'm awesome.
This is great timing that you were able to be on the podcast, correct?
Yep. Yep. I literally just flew in like, I don't know, 3-4 hours ago. So,
Oh, whoa.
Yeah.
And came straight here. How flattering
I
is that?
know.
That's awesome.
Of course,
Yeah.
I'm really like deriving the flattery. She didn't say like I flew in.
He was at the corner with like a van with no windows and free candy. So I just kind of went with
like
it.
a chauffeur.
yeah.
LHRL podcast.
Spray painting podcast. on the side of the van.
Right. Free podcast this way. Come
I
on.
have tailwind.
and I want to talk to you about timeshare. When we get down. And then we have next to Julia, we have the Reverend
Hey,
Vaughn Ross.
I'm here.
You are here, and I'm excited that you're here.
Good.
I'm excited that all of y'all are here. Can you tell I'm so excited?
Everybody is here.
Because you know what night it is.
Podcast night.
Podcast
You're
night.
dang right. And I get excited about podcast night. You got anything good or interesting going on?
Interesting. Yeah, sure. I'm obsessed with iTunes, and I'm actually obsessed with podcasts and podcasting in general. And so in iTunes, there's like this mystical thing where if you go and click through categories, and if you go on iTunes and leave us a 5-star review and click the 5-star and then say how awesome the podcast is, that helps us. But if you click on the category, whatever category your podcast is in, you can see what's hot. Well, first it goes, what's new, right? You see all the brand new podcasts, popular brand new podcasts. Then you'll say like what's hot, and you can see those. And then you'll see all podcasts. And each one of those you can click on see all. Like on the what's hot one, there's only 200, right? If you get yourself in that 200 mix, right? That's like
Gotcha.
really cool. Like nobody knows how to get there. Like there's all kinds of internet things.
Probably
that'll say
5-star reviews.
Be
well,
be good. Have a good podcast.
that's a piece of it, but nobody can. Apple will not tell anybody this is how you get into the top 200. So I'm obsessed with us being in that top 200.
Okay.
And so I watch iTunes very regularly. So today I was on there, and we're still not in the top 200. But what happens is normally I click on view all the podcasts in nutrition and fitness and nutrition category, and I mean I like scroll the wheel, like scroll the wheel all the way down, all the way. Oh, there we are, like almost the last little icon on the screen. But today I clicked on it, 8 rows down, which means number 80. There we are, right there. Like
Number
almost,
80.
Above the fold. Like, so if somebody's on fitness and nutrition podcasts on iTunes, they don't barely even have to scroll to see our little
Yay.
Wow.
If you would have said that we were in the top 80 fitness podcasts in the world, that's a pretty good place to be.
Well, I can't say top 80 because I don't know how. Nobody knows how it works. But there we are. If somebody's on iTunes and goes fitness and nutrition and looks at all those podcasts, we're like in the 80th spot there.
So
Well,
this
let
is
me back up. The
fluctuating.
fact that we're able to get a podcast from a recorder to the internet, I'd say is pretty unbelievable.
So is that considered true ranking?
No.
Okay.
If when we make the 200, where it goes what's hot in fitness and nutrition, there's only 200 of those. You break into that one, then you're like, oh, well, if we got to 200,
We're the
you'd be like,
shizzle.
we're the 200th most popular
Okay.
fitness and nutrition podcast on iTunes.
Nice. I heard somebody mention the shizzle. Speaking of the shizzle, we have the shizzle working the cameraman behind the microphone,
I'm trying.
Mr. Brian Swanson.
How goes it?
It goes well. Having you here makes it go even weller.
Weller?
It's like the wellest that it's been
It's the wellest that
in
it's
a
been.
long time. Having you
This
here.
is my favorite day of the week.
Is it your favorite day of the week?
It is.
I
get
don't want you
excited
to
about
tell me
this.
that just because you know that's
I
what
get
I want to
excited
hear.
about this every single week.
I love it. It's my favorite thing.
I'm happy to be here.
Guess what we have?
We have a 5-star.
We got a 5-star review. I'm going to read it to you. You want to hear it? You can't look at
Why?
it. I was going to tell y'all we had a 5-star review, but then I knew y'all'd look it up. Vaughn, have you looked it up?
I don't think that I looked at reviews today
Okay.
or this week.
I just happened upon it.
So it is
I don't-
5 stars?
I don't usually look. It just, I don't know. It just came across my,
Actually, I don't know. I may have read it. But
I look like 3 times a day. All right. And I know who has and has not left a 5-star review. So please, if you're watching or listening from home, do that for us. 5 stars, Fitness and Fun by SB Hollis.
Oh, that's good.
He finally figured it out. He's a
let's hear
freaking
it.
lawyer, and he finally figured out how to leave a 5-star review.
Hey,
Y'all
listen,
so
guys.
mean.
This is like a $900 review.
I was going to say, this is about, and we're paying
I
for it. by
wonder
the way.
what customer each. Oh, he probably charged it to a LHRL, didn't he?
You might have a bill for it.
Oh, man.
We love you, Scott.
Real people using fitness as a solution for real life and real issues. Stop listening to podcasts with pretentious fitness unicorns. Don't take yourself too seriously. Have some fun and be inspired. Also, work out and run sometimes. Derek Faith. He signed that Derek Faith because Ian Faith is his band, which I don't know who Ian is in relation to Derek, but now I would like to.
There's probably a story there. That's probably his
it's-
band. His band name
it
is
is,
probably
and it's-
like the group is called Ian Faith, but like his persona
It's
in
Derek.
the band is Derek.
There you go. That's a pretty good thesis.
That's my theory.
Yeah, you put that
We
together.
have a question from Jimmy Del Angel. Yes, you can review on Android.
Oh, you can.
I think so.
Well,
Am I making crap up?
When you leaned
don't
Well, I
have
don't
any
know.
idea.
You're the Android person. Is that a valid answer? Swanson or what?
How about we'll get back to you? I'm pretty sure you can.
Because he's never tried to review the podcast.
I did
Ooh.
it on a desktop. I didn't try and do it on my phone.
but you can do it from your phone now, and I don't know why more people won't.
If you have an iPhone, you're sure that you can do
There's
that.
no excuse.
We'll figure it out. That's a short answer.
Well, you know what? There's something else that I want to read, but I can't find it because it's not showing up. My notes are not transferring properly. So we've got an
That
issue.
sounds like a tech support issue.
It is, but I got it right here. This isn't a review, but it's something that somebody posted on the Lift Heavy Run Long page, so I want to read it. And it's from Nita Martin. She said, I'm so glad I stumbled across your podcast this past year, thanks to Vicky Thunstrom. I ran my first marathon last October and immediately found a new gym, box style, not CrossFit, but we lift heavy. I used to jam to music and found this podcast so inspiring. I am signed up for my first trail run, 13.1 City of Trails here in Minnesota. Thanks again for fueling my runs. I look forward to checking out the app.
Boom.
Wow.
Nita Martin. How awesome is that?
That is awesome.
It's been a good week for me. I'm a happy guy. And I'm happy because I have Christian and Julia here with us, and we're going to finally get to them. And
We're only 30 minutes in.
Perfect.
about right.
Perfect.
Sorry.
About right.
That's perfect.
Christian, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Man, not from down here in the South. I'm actually a Midwest guy. Born in New Jersey, was raised in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Was there all the way through high school, college. I came down here in 2008.
And you were a soccer player.
Soccer player.
Is that what brought you down here?
No, definitely not. By the time I came down here, I was through with soccer.
Okay.
Also known up in the Midwest as a field fairy.
A field fairy.
Well, I mean, you don't think of soccer and powerlifters.
Not at all.
How did that come into play?
Powerlifting came into play really randomly. My last 2 years of eligibility at soccer, our coach was like, he basically told everyone on the team, like, you guys are soft. So during the off season, between my second to last year and my last year, I started going to the gym, came back, and I enjoyed being at the gym. I had no idea what I was doing. No clue. But it helped. I put on a little bit of size, so it helped for soccer. So I was like, there's something to that. And after the last year of eligibility for soccer, I was like, well, I need something to do. So I started being that stereotypical gym bro at a gym, not knowing what I was doing. And that lasted from about 2008 to 2010. And I was actually in nursing school, and I was trying to get a job at the local ATC fitnesses around here at that time. I had like 3 job interviews and never got hired. And then the facility that I'm at now, NBS, posted on Facebook that they needed a front desk person to work, and I stumbled in there and have been there ever since.
When was that? 10 years ago?
NBS, that was 6 years ago.
6 years ago? And where were you in college?
Baptist. College of Health Science downtown.
Where did you play soccer?
I played soccer up in Milwaukee.
Okay, so then I'm missing how you got from Milwaukee to here.
Okay, gotcha. So I moved down here to work for my dad at the time. My dad's down here actually in Byhaley, Mississippi.
In Byhaley, right down the street.
Oh, wow.
Yep.
Doing what?
Well, he's retired now, but he used to work for one of the medical companies down here.
Thomas and Betts.
It was called Stealth
Okay.
Technologies. So I'm going to try and explain this as best as I can because this stuff goes over my head. Big companies down here like Smith & Nephew and Wright Medical, they do prosthetic inserts. His company would coat their products with, for lack of better terminology, beads. So when you have a prosthetic limb or joint put into the body, it needs to be able to stay there, and you have bone marrow, or I don't remember the exact terminology. After a certain age, you don't produce bone marrow anymore, but it needs something to hold on to. So these beads are spaced out a certain distance, and they're like put on by hand in their facility, and it allows the body to go in and the bone marrow to seep in and lock onto it. So he coated those parts for big companies like Smith & Nephew, Wright Medical, all that kind of stuff.
Wow, interesting.
Yeah.
So back to MBS, you're working the front desk, and when did you decide this is what I'm going to go big time here?
So I was told
Because you obviously have.
I was told that I couldn't be compensated monetarily at that time. So I was offered nutrition and programming, and I was like, fine, whatever. I wasn't doing it to get paid. And I was
You just loved it that much.
Well, love is a very not at the beginning, because when I was told about powerlifting, I thought it was the dumbest thing in the world. Absolutely the dumbest thing in the world, because in my head I played soccer. All I knew was a collegiate sport. I was like, why would you only want to be good at 3 things? Like, it didn't make any sense to me. So I wasn't quite sure how the training was going to go. And again, typical gym bro for the last 4 years, I had no idea what I was doing in the gym. So actually having a structured training program that was focused on strength, I just did what I was told. And I ended up doing what I was told for 2 years before I was like, I'm getting better at this. I'm going to run with this. And that's...
It's amazing what happens when you do what you're told.
Right. It's really weird, especially in this industry. It's crazy.
You don't just try to do it all yourself.
Yeah. So I got in with the right people. I always tell people that I was raised in the industry properly. So you can be raised in this industry really poorly, and it shows. And
I can imagine.
It also... It's a downfall from not just an individual, but if you're raised poorly in the industry, that's going to affect hundreds of people.
That is very true.
If you have a reach. So I'm really big on it. with the people that I work with the people that I have connections with. Like the education aspect of it is just big all over. So that's why I'm so happy to be here and have you guys putting out good information. 99 episodes of it.
Well, when you were there, was the people that were coaching you, did they see that you were going somewhere? I mean, how long did it take for somebody to give you some respect?
That's a really interesting question. So, from an athlete perspective, I was kind of pushed from a you can always do better perspective. So that was probably there when you can reach different levels of powerlifting. You can reach like a class 3, a class 2, a class 1, elite level, international elite level, and then you can start getting invited to meets. I kind of figured that out when I hit that elite level. But even still, it was like, oh man, congratulations, you have an elite total. And at the time, I was just like, okay, like on to the next thing because I still have so much other stuff to work on. So
did that mean anything to you at the time, or
at the time it did, because back then 6 years ago at NBS Fitness, that's what like everyone was talking about in our little pond at NBS Fitness of you got to get an elite total. Like that's.
And sorry to interrupt. Explain for the people that don't know what a total is.
So a total, in powerlifting, you do squat, you bench, and you deadlift, and those 3 lifts together give you a total. And depending on how much you weigh in your weight class, they have set standards of if you lift this amount, you fall in this category. And elite level is a selected weight overall to reach at a specific weight, a weight class. That would give you an elite total.
And it will always be that. They don't throw in surprises. There's not extra
it.
Lifts.
No extra lifts, but from year to year they have changed what the total is. Like they'll increase
They've increased the total over the years.
But
yeah.
if you get a total, is it always? Do you always have an elite total, or like all of a sudden they change the rule this year, so I no longer have one?
If I can butt in, I would say I wouldn't necessarily say, oh, well, I totaled the elite total back in 2005. Like I would say, I think it's a legitimate thing to say that you totaled that.
Yeah, I think so
at some
too.
point. I don't think it needs any. First of all, I don't think it really needs any explanation. Right. Second of all, the amount of people that are in our sport are so small. So for somebody who doesn't really know to come along, I think it's general enough to say I reached the highest level. You know,
like next year if they change the marathon distance
right.
to 26.3, I still ran a marathon.
Right. Exactly.
So
that's a great point.
One of the lifts like carry you, like if you're like massively awesome at squats and not so well at something else, and you still hit that elite number, that's fine. You can.
And that is where coaching and understanding mechanics and everything in powerlifting comes into play, because like there's a reason that they have a really good squat, whether that be good or bad, and then the rest of their lifts suck. So typically speaking, everyone's going to have one really good lift, or one really good lift, one really bad lift, and one mediocre, or 2 mediocre lifts and 1 bad lift. You're never going to have 3 good.
It's always unbalanced.
There's always going to be, in my opinion, there's always going to be an imbalance. Always.
Julia, you agree?
I do to an extent, yeah. I'm not disagreeing with it. No, I do. It was just funny because when you said it. No. I was like behind your head, like kind of making faces, and Wilson's like watching
Not
me.
everybody fell all 3 of yours.
Speak for yourself. No, I'm just kidding. But no, I would agree with that, and I think a lot of it has to do with, obviously strengths and weaknesses, but aside from that is body structure. Generally speaking, people, for instance, with shorter arms are going to have a great bench press. That's it, plain and simple. But yeah,
How long have you been into the bodybuilding aspect of it?
Bodybuilding aspect?
Or where did you start?
Oh, I started in powerlifting in 99. So I've been at this for almost 20 years now.
Is that college age, pre-college?
Yeah, actually,
post-college?
yeah. my senior year, I got done running track. Ran track in college for a couple years, got out of track, and similarly needed something to do. And I had kind of gotten into lifting in high school, so I had been interested in it for a while.
What part of the country were you in?
That's a great question. I was in Indiana.
Okay.
So I was born and raised up near Chicago, and then went to school in Indiana.
Went to college at Indiana?
Mm-hmm. So I went to Ball State University, and Ball State, I don't know, down here, I guess down south, Louisiana has really great college powerlifting teams. So there are some schools like LSU is very well known for college powerlifting. Ball State at the time, back in 2001, 2002, we had a phenomenal team. Would go to the collegiate nationals and things like that. So it was pretty cool to be a part of. So that's kind of where like I had started getting into it, and then my senior year joined our powerlifting team, and it kind of snowballed from there. So I'm an old woman in this sport, so yeah.
So back then, did the college back then like it's a
yeah,
long time ago.
it really is.
Sorry. So at that time, did they have? I don't know anything about it. Did the coaches like help you with your nutrition and all that stuff, and plan out what you're gonna do and your workouts and all that, or how did that work?
Yeah, so back then I would say nutrition, not necessarily. We were kind of on our own as far as that goes. All I knew from a standpoint, I was studying exercise science, so I was familiar with nutritional ideas and things like that. But and they would give us a little help if we needed to cut weight or anything. But for the most part, we were kind of on our own. But the training aspect, we all trained together as a team.
Oh,
so we
cool.
had certain nights of the week at 6 p.m. We're meeting in the varsity weight room, and we would have our team training sessions. So that was cool because that gave me the first taste of what it was like to have training partners and have a team that's there to I think there were 3 or 4 other girls on the team, and so we trained together, and then the guys, and everybody's kind of helping each other, and so that was kind of a really cool aspect to be a part of.
How many different weight classes? You said there's 3 or 4 girls on the team. How many different weight classes are in powerlifting? And is that a standard? Every powerlifting meet there is.
They're the same
X
weight
through
classes.
this.
I want to say there's about 10-ish, roughly, maybe no more than a dozen. For the women, they start as low as 97 pounds. So there's a 97, 105, 114, 123, and it incrementally. The highest for women, I think, is 198.
Oh, they're super heavy.
And no, I know 198, and then there's super heavy for women, and then the guys
goes all the way from like 123 all the way up to super heavyweight is anything above 308.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, there's about a dozen or so weight classes.
Is there a weight class that you've stuck with most of the time?
Yeah, so most of my meets and competitions have been done in the 132 class. I've done some at 123, and I've also done some at 148. So,
Is there a pro or con to being lighter or heavier in those classes?
I mean, if you're lighter and can stay just as strong, then obviously some of the formulas that they use to determine winners of competitions has to do. So if he and I both have the same total, but I weigh less, that's looked upon as favorable because I can do it at a lighter body weight. So
Is it more fun to go up a weight class because you get to eat more? Like, are the 300-pound weight class? I imagine the 300-pound weight class, dude.
It's kind of fun.
I'm just eating quarter pounders.
If I
every
don't
day.
cut weight because of the scenario I'm in right now, yes, eating into a meet is amazing. Eating and not caring about what weight class you're in is the best thing to do. And we always tell people when you're getting into this, don't worry about cutting weight.
Right.
It messes with you so bad from a mental aspect, from a physical aspect. It's that's one variable that is a big variable. They're don't worry about that yet.
But there's also
don't even worry
something
about
too, like MMA fighters, being a huge, gaining a whole bunch of weight.
Yes.
And then cutting a whole bunch of
Yep.
weight and going down,
Yep.
fighting in a lower, lifting in a lower class because you're now I'm going to whip all these people's butts.
Right.
Because
But,
I'm a monster.
I mean,
and
there's definitely pros and cons to that because if you do it wrong, you're not
trash.
going to bounce back
right.
properly.
Oh,
So it's-
yeah, I'm not saying that's easy.
Oh no, right,
No,
right. But
Yeah.
there's multiple ways that I'm finding out that you can recomp, if you will, and some people do it really well, and some people do it really poorly, and it's very interesting to watch the performance
Oh, I bet.
Based on-
aspect of
yep.
things. They both got back to the same weight, but one like you're saying, is trash, and the other one is like on point
Right.
every time.
Done well,
it's
yeah.
really impressive to watch. Like really.
Because putting on
impressive.
weight is different than actually fueling your system. So, I mean, you couldn't put on a ton of weight, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to actually benefit your performance.
That doesn't mean go out and eat everything I want to eat whenever I want to eat it.
Nope. Big mistake in beginner powerlifters. I don't want to.
I was so into powerlifting. For like
I was
45
excited. You
seconds.
guys had me for that long.
Do you find that people that get into powerlifting, you were talking about people cutting weight and telling people not to worry about that on the front end. Do you find everybody's vain on some? We're all vain as humans. We're vain. Do you find that people that get into powerlifting kind of find that they can replace the scale obsession with the strength obsession and find their value through getting stronger and kind of lose the whole figure part of it?
I will answer that two different ways. Lose the whole figure part, yes. But when a lot of people get into powerlifting and they get hooked on it, you have a different demon to fight with total and weight class.
Obsession, yeah.
Because no matter how much stronger you get, you're like, man, if I was this strong in a lower weight class, I would be ranked higher.
Yeah.
So then it doesn't become... It becomes like, I don't care how I look, I just got to get to that weight. So then you start having a lot of issues with people that are just getting into it, like, hey, I'm thinking about dropping a weight class. And I was like, okay, well, how close are you to the next weight class? Oh, 10 pounds. Like, no, you're not close. Like, you don't, like, to train the way you need to train for powerlifting and being in a caloric deficit to close that gap, you're not ready for that.
Well, I would argue to say the flip side as well. We've seen a lot of people get into the sport who just say, I just want to be the strongest ever, and they just want to blow up to the biggest that they can be, regardless of physique appearances. They're like, I literally just want to squat 1,000 pounds, and that's it. I mean, and it sounds like a ridiculous number, but to go along with what he's saying, and I think that's a great point of view coming from, like, especially I would say the male standpoint.
Right.
From a female standpoint, and what I've seen over the years, because I've been in this so long, is that I think it does replace it more for females. Okay. Because we have been this whole, you need to be a certain size, you need to weigh a certain weight, and here's what society tells you, that the women who get involved in powerlifting are like, exactly, they're like, screw this, screw the scale, screw trying to fit into this little shape. I'm going to, squat 300, 400, whatever that number is. And they do find that the scale and weight obsession becomes a little, out of the way, and they start to just focus on what they can physically do in the gym.
I like that.
It's funny how just sport relates to each other in general, because if you want to go run a 5-hour marathon, that's great, because that's one thing. Like, it's kind of like going to a powerlifting meet. And what you're talking about, these people that come in and go, I think I want to squat 400 or 500 pounds or whatever it is. But then once they get hooked, they're like, oh, well, maybe I want to run a 4-hour marathon, or maybe I want to do a 3:30 marathon. Maybe I want to qualify for Boston. But once you get hooked into that thing, you are all of a sudden going, okay, I can't qualify for Boston if I don't
Exactly.
do X, Y, and Z. But I really want to do that. I can't go get that elite total if I don't, dial in
nutrition and recovery and all that. Yeah.
Right.
Absolutely.
It's really truly a science to everything. It's amazing how, when I first got into CrossFit and everything, I was like, oh, I just want to be healthy. But now it's like, well, I want to lift heavy stuff, and I got to feel my body right, and recover correctly, and lift correctly, or I'll hurt myself and be out for weeks. And
absolutely,
it's amazing.
There's a lot of variables to it.
But it seems like there's more and more options for people to cling on to something. Like Vaughn was talking about, running a 5-hour marathon and then deciding that you want to run a 4-hour marathon. There's also so many things for somebody to decide, maybe I want to see if I can walk a 5K. And then you walk a 5K and you want to do a 10K, and then you want to do a faster 10K. And now they have, 5Ks and powerlifting and obstacle course racing and CrossFit and all these different figure competitions. And I just don't see that there was that many things available on the menu 10 or 20 years ago, where now I think it's great that there's so many different places to go find some level
Yeah,
of
that's a
fitness.
great point. And the thing is, you shouldn't discourage anybody from being a powerlifter. Like, if you want to come be a powerlifter, come be a powerlifter.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
it doesn't matter if you don't know what you're doing at all. You could totally go start training.
Well, as you said, I think a lot of
know?
people getting into probably the same thing with CrossFit or marathon running is they think, well, I can't do that because I'm only down here at this level. And we see the same thing too. And it's like, no, well, once you just dip your toe in the water, that's
Yeah.
kind of just the spark that it takes to take off. And then they become interested in more things.
Everybody's got to start somewhere.
Absolutely.
It's like I keep telling people at the gym, oh, I need to get in shape to go to CrossFit.
Oh, that's the worst thing ever.
Just come.
You guys talked
Exactly.
about that in one of your way early podcasts, and it's like that's not the way to get into something. Like, you don't, in any hobby that you do, you don't just say, well, I have to get to this level to
Yeah,
get
that's
into
a
that
great point.
hobby.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Like, you just do it. Like,
Start
and you
somewhere.
Get
that
in there and start
taste.
sucking at it.
Just like when you started doing the podcast.
And we suck.
We
at
talked
it.
about that before it started, right?
And it's funny. No
It
matter
was
who
literally
you
just a
talk to.
camera and a microphone.
No
and
matter who
that's-
you talk to, you suck at something really bad. Everyone sucks at it before they get good at it. Nobody
Right.
gets into something
I have
good.
to learn how to play the guitar before I can play the guitar. I got to be able to be in a band first. And then I'll
That's
start
so
playing the
silly.
guitar.
That's so
Exactly.
So
silly.
with powerlifting, how do you kind of get into something like that? Because I've kind of been interested in it for a while, but I don't even know how to, like, start.
Do you just walk?
Do you go to
could
a
I
gym
just
and say,
show
"Hey,
up
I
at
wanna-"
NBS Fitness and say,
Yes,
What's
yes.
up?
Actually, down here you probably could because a place like NBS, because it is so powerlifter friendly, you literally could, and they would direct you to a coach who coaches the powerlifting team, or the other people that train there. But I would say one of the first things that I did was I literally went to a meet. And I went to a meet that was local in my town, and I watched and I saw how it was run and kind of what they do. And the meet director literally came up to me and he was like, "Do you want to compete today?" And I was like, "Oh, no. I'm just here to watch. I just want to see what's going on." And he was like, "Well, no, why don't you just..." And it was only they were just doing bench and deadlift. They weren't squatting. So I was like, okay, I mean, I guess why not? And
Really?
yes, that was literally my first meet. And that's... So I just went to, because I wanted to see what it was like. I had no clue. Same thing. I was like, I don't even know where to start. And then from there it was, and this is back before the internet, right? So this is back in 2000. And so we were reading magazines, and this was when Elite FTS first came out, and so we were reading articles and trying to find things. And I got involved with the powerlifting team at college, and that's kind of, so you just start to seek out people and information that are going to continue to guide you in that direction.
But you took that step.
Absolutely.
And just kind of let
Absolutely.
everything else
Absolutely.
take care of itself.
Yep.
And, with all the guests that we've had on this podcast, all the people from all different competitive levels, from the top to, just hanging out. And all of them want the same thing. All of them are very open to, come do what I do. Come try what I do, and
Yep.
we'll just all do it. Regardless of what you run or how fast you run or what you lift, just try it. And I think that there's a benefit to walking into something and not knowing anything about it. When I came into CrossFit, I was basically still high from rehab. I didn't know up from down. I just knew that something had to give.
Right.
I didn't know what I wanted. I didn't know what I was doing. I just knew that I was insecure, embarrassed, ashamed, and needed a place to hide. And, you walk in there and you see people that are like, we're going to do amazing stuff. And it doesn't all have to be predefined. We're just going to do stuff.
Yep.
And on the weekends, we're going to do stuff. And then it was running stuff and trail running stuff and, Tough Mudder stuff. And, that it all just took care of itself. But it was so scary getting in there that I can only imagine the potential that's out there sitting on a couch that just can't quite bring themselves to.
Well, I think because in our human brain, we want to know all the steps on how to get
Yes.
there. And so that's what keeps us from doing anything. And like you just said, literally it's walking through the door of a CrossFit or a gym or whatever and just going.
I don't want to learn. I want to know.
It's funny. It's funny how the perception of fitness, and I don't want to say regular people, but just your average person.
I need to
who
get in
doesn't
shape
want-
before I
it's
go
like-
to the gym.
It's like
That's-
I can't.
yeah.
Well, just go. Like, just do whatever it is you want to do and figure it out. And
As you go.
also, when you get in there, you realize that like when you go to a 100-mile race, everybody wants you to succeed. When you go to a powerlifting meet, when you go to a whatever, go to a CrossFit gym, everybody thinks it's awesome that you can do a push-up from your knees. Like everybody's like, oh, I can only do it from my knees. Well, I think it's awesome that you're doing it.
Absolutely.
You know? And everybody can do that. And it's weird because like today we had a health thing at work, and like the guy presenting kept going, well, Vaughn doesn't qualify, but if everybody wants to walk 10,000 steps today, and I'm like, Jesus, let it go. Like everybody can. Everybody in this room can do exactly what I do because I don't do any. Like I don't. All I did was just decide I was going to go do it. You know, it's funny though, the perception that everyone outside has. That when you get into whatever sport, powerlifting, running, CrossFit, basketball, everybody wants you to succeed. And if you're really good at the sport, if I showed up at you guys' gym and I said, hey, man, I want to learn how to be a powerlifter, you guys would be like, okay, let's go.
And having that community is like a huge part of it, because if you don't have that and you just walk into some place that, I mean, you pick up on it from one other person. Like if you see a group of people doing it and just sit back and watch and see the interactions, I mean, that's huge in the community of CrossFit. And that it grows so well because it's very inviting into that. If you can have a community in a small niche like that, it's going to grow. And to your point, for interest, for anybody that's listening to it, we actually have a powerlifting meet that's happening in Cordova in 2.5 weeks that we're hosting. And if you guys just want to watch, it's going to be, we host 2 a year. This is our first one of this year, and it just be interesting to watch. It's a good experience.
Maybe
to get
you'll get
into.
talked into actually taking part.
No.
Is it that?
Yeah, she's going to show up and be like, I think you should lift today. I think you should lift.
Don't do that.
Is it that easy? Is it as easy as walking through the door and saying I would like to lift?
At our particular one, no, not so much, not anymore.
Yeah.
I mean, you do need to register ahead of time, yes.
Register, and now it's required that you have to wear a singlet and all that kind of stuff. So, like, you have to have proper attire to be lifting for safety reasons and for judging.
See, he's
purposes.
saying that back in the caveman days when we didn't.
Right, back when you didn't get sued for
But if I
anything.
I'm just kidding,
if
right.
I cruised in a singlet that day.
Right.
I just-
You could, seriously, like, you could.
I tell you what,
I wear
probably.
singlets most days.
Actually, it's
She
When
pulls
I'm
it out of her
exactly
back pocket. I am ready.
Fertilizing yards. I usually wear a singlet.
There is a joke in the powerlifting community. Like, a lot of people train way too often in singlets for I don't know what reason, and it's weird. So it's really funny that you said that.
Well, and on another note, what I always used to say is every time I go somewhere or travel, I would like bring my entire gym bag of stuff, right? Belt and shoes and wraps, and then I said I'm bringing my gym bag in case the powerlifting meet breaks out, because it was like wherever you went, like whether it was a training or a meet, like I want to be ready, I want to be there, I want to be part of it. So there you go.
Coach, I'm ready to play.
Exactly.
Important question. If I have to wear a singlet,
Oh.
can I wear a T-shirt over the singlet? Is it like swimming in a pool? Like, can I swim in the pool with a T-shirt on?
You can wear it. It has to be under your
under the
singlet.
singlet.
It has to be under the singlet.
The T-shirt
go.
does?
Yes.
Oh, so I can wear a T-shirt and
So
put
you
the
can
singlet
wear it.
over. That would
Yes.
be so dumb. I would rather just wear the
But
singlet.
if you wear a T-shirt under the singlet, you have to wear a swim cap.
So
would be awesome.
what's the point behind the singlet as far as powerlifting? Is there a history to that, or like what's the?
I mean, the history,
Just
I'm sure,
wondering.
I think from a technical standpoint for the judges that actually need to see the body
Yeah.
parts doing the lift, right? So we need to see that
The
the
form and all that.
quads are parallel and the hips are, breaking the knees, and you need to see if the butt's on the bench during the bench press. So I think that's probably my
Cool.
guess is where it stemmed from.
Okay.
Right.
So
I never actually thought about that. That's a pretty good point.
I think how much easier CrossFit competitions would be easier to judge if there was like required uniforms.
well, isn't it like just shorts and a sports bra?
Oh,
I think
girls
that's
are big
just
shorts,
that's what I was gonna say. That kind of is the.
But if they're wearing booty shorts, if they're wearing, that's an if they're wearing booty shorts. But if they're wearing like baggy shorts and a long T-shirt, it might
They're
be
not going
hard
to win
see.
anyway, so it doesn't matter. That's it. You just described me.
Baggy shorts and
You in the booty
t-shirt.
shorts?
No, the baggy shorts and the t-shirt.
So when did, I don't care which one of y'all answers this question first, but when did you experience your first taste of success and thought, uh-oh, we may be going somewhere? Your first meet that you won?
So,
Because you said you're in the top 10 in the country. Is that correct?
was in the top 10. She's gonna hit me. So I'll backtrack a little bit. You said when you started this, you did everything wrong and you sucked at it.
Uh-huh.
Everything that I just said prior to not doing, I did, and it was stupid. It was the most miserable thing I've ever done. My first meet, I had the potential to reach an elite total at my first meet. So I cut weight, and I cut a lot of weight. And I made a lot of bad decisions with food recomping, and I paid a miserable price for it. Got the total. I have never in my life cut back down to that weight class ever again. And I had a really bad relationship with Perkins now because of because of that.
Oh man.
But I cut a lot of weight. I ate way too much going back on. And it was a perfect storm because my coaches at the time, they knew what was going to happen. But it was one of those
They
things
had to let you experience it. Yep.
Let him learn. I learned.
Some lessons you
There
have
you
to
go.
learn the hard way.
Learn today.
All of 'em.
Yep.
The whole
Yeah,
lesson.
Wilson learns all of them the hard way.
Yeah. So
I don't even learn them. I just keep doing things the hard way.
And it's one of those things where it's you can see this train wreck a mile away coming. So that's why I'm I know where this goes. Please don't be me. But my first meet, I hit an elite total, and I was like, okay, there's some good possibility here. Now, I will say it really set in on the second meet because I went up a weight class, and I was still able to acquire an elite total at the next weight class, at my next meet. So I just kept running with it from
Cool.
there.
And what about you?
Mine is probably over I guess a longer period of time. I kind of saw a first little taste of success when I joined the college powerlifting team and placed second at collegiate nationals. So it was kind of oh, okay, might be pretty good at this thing for
You
a
placed
girl,
second
right?
at collegiate national?
I did.
When I don't
I
understand
like how
how.
casually they mention this kind of stuff.
I just don't
I used to be tempted.
I
to walk
totally
off,
did my first meet, blah blah blah.
You
And he
see-
gets on me for stuff
You
like
see that football picture over there?
Oh, my
I
goodness.
played football in high school, and I
won't stop talking
I
about it.
seldom have a conversation where I don't find a way to interweave that I played football in
high school. Mm-hmm.
Now, imagine if I had placed second nationally at the collegiate level.
Oh, then
I
you'd
would
just be.
I'd just be on
Have a
repeat,
banner
just
hanging
a
up in
reboot cycle, just walking around going, I play second.
He probably signed the T-shirts that he's giving you. Just to make sure he
With
got
his
that.
class year,
72.
class of '98.
There might be a highlights reel in there. I don't know. It's not
There's one
promising
close
anything.
enough by if you'd like to
If
see
you'd
it.
like the highlights reel from that year.
I have numerous copies.
It's gonna be a long night.
and you being 10th in the world at some point, or 10th in
Yes.
the nation at
Yep.
some point, and then you're so quick to say, I was like that. Was
Always
got to
be that disclaimer.
That's correct. Yeah, that's just crazy to me that you wouldn't be able to muster up the strength to be like, yeah, that's right. I was 10th in the world, in the country, whatever.
I will say that weight training sports is a very interesting thing once you start progressing up the ladder. And this is also where how you're raised in the industry is going to get you certain places. You can take two paths, and if you want to, you can take the path of, in this day and age with social media and how things are going, oh, I'm getting good at this, now I'm going to try and leverage, and you're going to go down one path. If you go down another path, after nursing school didn't work out for me, I knew that I wanted to help people. And when I went into NBS and I started working there, he was like, you need to go to school for exercise sports science. And by he, I meant David Allen, who was on one of your earlier podcasts, who's the owner of NBS.
Yeah.
And he was like, if you want to help people, help them before they get into the hospital. So I was going to school for nursing. I was like dead set on helping people, want them to get healthy, get out. Okay. My first on the floor at the hospital was like the worst experience ever. Like it was I don't want to use the word hate. Very humbling. Not for me. That career field is not for everybody at all.
That's
I'm
people
sure
who are
that-
nurses,
And
hats off to them.
right. And my first rotation was on the oncology floor. And like I was really naive. I didn't know exactly what that meant. So I digress back to once I started going to school for exercise sports science, I was like, okay, this is pretty awesome. I can help people. And once I started progressing the ladder in powerlifting, the majority of my clients aren't powerlifters. Like 99% of my clientele is Gen Pop. They don't care.
Is
about
what?
Gen
General
Pop, like
population.
general population.
Okay.
So
It's a prison
these are
term.
individuals coming. I'm sorry.
That was
said
it.
a prison-
It's a prison term.
So
Prison.
these individuals are coming to me and like, hey, I just want to get stronger.
Uh-huh.
I can help you with that. And it's gotten to the point where as I got stronger and better, that was more confidence booster for me.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't deal with powerlifters all the time, but literally anything that can breathe or walk, I can make stronger. Like no matter what, I will make stronger. So me personally getting stronger, that's my own personal goal. But with the reach that I now have with the individuals in my circle, like it's never been my goal to be like, oh yeah, I hit this level. Now, being transparent, I did get to a point where I was so concerned with breaking that top 10, trying to break the top 5, that a lot of stuff started to crumble. A lot of stuff started to crumble, and it was not worth it. It was not worth the stuff that I was putting myself through. It was not worth the stuff I was putting my body through, and the other relationships that I had in my life, family, friends, all that stuff, not worth it. Absolutely not worth it.
Man, how often do you hear a story of somebody saying, my rise to the top, and when I was working to get there, it was beautiful. Everything was great.
Right.
Everybody, like
Right.
when they start encroaching upon what they thought was their ultimate want, seems to say, and then when I got closer, it wasn't.
Wasn't all it
what I
seemed to be.
wanted. Yeah. So what is your perfect world look like now? What do you like to do? Are you trying to get clients? Do you work with clients?
I
Is
work
that what
with-
you do full time?
Yeah, personal training, one-on-one. I for some reason I have this thing against calling it personal training, like strength coach. Like I'm a strength coach. I know how to teach strength. I know how to do it safely, and whether that is for Gen Pop clients, athletes, powerlifters, like those will be the individuals that I like to work with the most. If someone comes to me that wants to do like bodybuilding or physique stuff, I know like way down here on that. Like I know general stuff from exercise sports science of methodologies, theories, and things that work, but I also have a close circle. So if I have someone come to me and like, nah, that person's smarter than I am in this area, like talk to them. Like don't let me hold you back from chopping away at the block of getting to where you get. My perfect world is I just want to coach people.
And where do people find you?
Man, I'm on social media outlets. I have NBS email, which is christian@nbsfitness.net. My Instagram handle is ANT_TOE, and then also on Facebook as well.
I remember when Andy Gunshow was on here, something that she said that part of what she enjoyed most about her life was that she could help people through knowing the people that could help people.
Yeah.
And being able to say, I can't help you there, but I know somebody who can, and that was really rewarding for her as well.
And one of the other rewarding things is like now getting to where I am now and taking a step back and looking at the perspective. I went to school for nursing to help people get better in the hospital, and now I am trying my best to prevent people from going in.
To the hospital.
And it's really crazy. The best story I ever had with any of my clients was I had an individual that was a little bit older, and he was in rough shape. He had a frozen shoulder. He didn't move well. His balance was off, and he even had a pacemaker. And right when he walked in the door, and Julia can attest to this, when you start being around people all the time, by how they move, you can start seeing and putting and piecing together things of, okay, they have an issue here, they have an issue there. My main concern with him was a fall. And from family history and going to nursing school, I know if you break a hip after you fall after a certain age, your quality of life and your percentage of potential death skyrockets. So my number one thing was, I'm going to make sure if this guy falls, he does not break his hip, period. And 2 years later, he had a fall and didn't break a single bone in his body. And it was the coolest thing ever. And I was like, this is it. That's it. That's it.
Nice.
Awesome.
And Julia, what's
Yeah.
your passion?
I'm in a similar boat. I've been kind of doing this obviously for a long time. I studied something similar. I was an exercise science major, and went into the strength and conditioning field. I was fortunate enough to have similarly the right people around me at the right time. In 2002, I was a strength coach at a Division I university out in Buffalo, New York. So I trained college athletes for 8 years out there. And at the time, that was the highlight. That was what I wanted to do. College athletics was it, and being a female strength coach at a Division I university was great. There were not many females doing that at the time.
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah. I was extremely fortunate and did a lot of things wrong, but I wouldn't change a thing. That was by far one of the best experience I had. I was out in New York for that time, moved back to the Midwest where I was working at a private facility training. I went from training superstar college athletes to little 9, 10, and 11-year-olds, which was awesome in and of itself. So, trained young kids for a long time.
End up with elite totals.
Almost. No. In that area, though, it was really cool because we had a lot of kids who would come to us at the age of 8 or 9 and then kind of in and out over the years, and then all of a sudden come back to us when they're 16 and 17. And so to see that progression, or to see them say, I really thought you were mean back when I was little, and now I see what you were trying to do. So, and now this is really important to me because I feel like when I talk to people about this is that I think it's really important that we create the life that we want to live. And I'm very fortunate enough to say that I am almost there. And it's the life that I've created. I'm a single parent right now. I have 2 kids, and I've been able to, I left my full-time job probably 3 years ago and was able to build up my own clientele at the gym that I train at, and I'm able to train my clients, have a flexible schedule, take my kids to their baseball and softball schedule, games and all of those things, and sort of kind of manage. And so people say, well, gosh, is this really what you want to do? Absolutely. Because my kids are 9 and 11, and being around for them at this age is super important for me. And so to have a schedule and a job that allows me to be flexible, which is pretty rare as a single mom, and then to be able to train and compete and powerlift and bodybuild, I honestly really, I'm kind of almost there. So,
And I'll tell you what else is rare.
and then I met this guy, so
is taking a step back and appreciating that.
Yes,
I do
absolutely.
a terrible job of it. I was talking to Amanda just this last week about how, I worry about this, I worry about that, and I worry about things that are so far away, and I never stop to say, you know what? I get to go to all of Grayson's baseball games. We get to take them to school and pick them up. We get to do all these things that people would just give anything to go do, but they can't.
It is really weird how we do that. Like, no matter how high you get on the ladder, you're still like, everything sucks.
Yeah.
There's
Like,
always
how
something
can I-
that could be different, should be.
Yeah.
Well, and I think it's tough, and on the days that you are super busy and you're running one kid here and one kid there, and and it's like I don't have time to eat. When am I going to cook my food? When am I going to do all these things? But then when you do stop to appreciate it, there are so many parents who are, their schedules are off, or they work midnights, and the kids are, bouncing between, friends' houses and neighbors' houses. But to have their own, I just feel fortunate that I'm able to do that for my kids. So
I like that. I like your energy when
That's
you
awesome.
talk about it. It's fun to watch people that appreciate their life.
sometimes I want to strangle them. You know how the kids are, but
yeah.
I'm not gonna lie. But
I'm surprised that there aren't more homicides committed more regularly. I really am.
Right?
Against 11-year-olds.
And if it wasn't for Amanda, I can think of two.
oh, there you go.
Be strangled. And you two both have been so gracious. Christian, I've been in touch with you. It's really nice. This podcast is my favorite thing in the world. I love doing it. I love having Amanda do it with me. I love having these guys with me, once a week. I mean, it's just, I look forward to this on an emotional level. Like I love this podcast and getting to meet people and sit down with people. And it makes it even more powerful and more fun when there's somebody like y'all that are excited to be on it and that you express gratitude for being on it. And, knowing before y'all even got here, this is going to be a great show.
Absolutely.
Because it's people that want to be here. And I really appreciate y'all taking the time to do it.
And you're welcome to come back
great.
anytime you want.
Yes,
Absolutely.
for sure.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
I don't live that far away.
Absolutely.
You're gonna have
Would
to have
love it.
food for him next time, though.
Is there a certain total that you have to hit before you can wear a mohawk? I'm thinking that there is.
Actually,
I would
the
love.
mohawk was honestly around well before powerlifting.
I was gonna say that's
Was it
soccer.
really?
Yeah, it
That's
was
a soccer.
Actually,
it definitely is a soccer hair.
I
Yes.
went drastic from one end of the spectrum to the other. When I got this mohawk for the very first time, it was off of my friend was a cosmetologist major, and they were having a men's hair cutting, it's not a seminar, but like a workshop. Prior to walking in there, my hair was like stereotypical old school soccer player, was all the way down to my mouth. Like I'm
Shaggy.
talking curls, super shaggy. Lopped it all. The only word she said to me before she started, "Do you trust me?" And I was like, yeah, whatever. It was long enough that I could put it in a ponytail, like a small ponytail, not like one of those knots, but like a ponytail, and that's the mohawk. And it's just stuck ever since.
Do you remember Brian Bosworth? He played for Oklahoma football years ago, and he was blonde headed. He wore the paint
Yes.
in
Yes,
his hair.
yes.
That was my. Oh my god! He was like the earrings and the paint. And in fourth grade, I wore paint in my hair. With
Oh,
the
nice.
cuts on the
Yes.
side, and I had the flat top.
Oh, nice.
And so, like, between him and Mr. T,
Oh.
like mohawk. When I see a mohawk, I'm always like, "Oh man, I wish I could."
Funny. It's funny you said that. So I had the same thought, like, man, putting a design in the side of my head. Sure enough, I started getting designs cut into the side of my head at one of the barber shops in downtown Memphis. So sometimes at competitions, I'll get like NBS cut into the side
I love
of it.
it.
Or
That's awesome.
I love it. I said something the other day about wearing hats backwards. I was talking to, Max Kinney, and I was saying, like, when you wear your hat, you're a big dude. Like, you can wear your hat backwards. You can arm wrestle anybody and call him bro and be like the man. And they thought I was poking fun at wearing hats backwards. I was like, you got to understand, like, no, hats backwards, mohawks, like paint in the hair is my.
That's funny.
That's my jam.
That's funny.
I just don't have the right shaped head for it.
You in your head.
I know, it's just funny shaped. I don't know.
He has an
Dropped too many
odd-shaped
times as a
heat.
kid.
Lift Heavy Run Long number 99 is in the books.
Thank you so much.